Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. These are very difficult economic times for organic dairy farmers. Since the first of the year, 12 organic Vermont dairies have gone out of business. That accelerates a trend that saw the state lose 18 such farms in 2022 and 11 that went out of business the year before that. For those that remain in business, the soaring costs of feed, fertilizer, and fuel are having a major impact on the bottom line. Those costs are magnified by the fact that the price paid to farmers for the milk they make has barely climbed at all. Keith Silva tells us more from the recent Vermont Organic Dairy Producers Conference in Randolph Center.
It's tough times for organic dairy farmers.
From highest to lowest.
I would absolutely say yes, it is a crisis moment.
Abby Course, who farms with her parents in Whitingham on the Massachusetts border, is willing to declare this moment a crisis. But she's also quick to point out that every farm's situation is different.
Our farm was paid off a long time ago. We're not struggling with the same types of debt loads that I'm seeing. A lot of my friends who are first-generation farmers in organic dairy are facing these immense capital investment costs that are just, as far as I understand it, almost unsustainable for them to continue.
In 2020, farmers were paid $31 per hundredweight, the price paid for their milk. The cost of organic corn was $450 a ton, while soy came in at $1,200. The next year, the price paid to farmers was $33 per hundredweight, while corn increased to $565 and soy went up to $1,700. In 2022, organic farmers received $32 per hundredweight, while corn prices went to $525 and soy increased to $1,900 per ton. Organic dairy farmers are required by law to only feed certified organic grain to their livestock.
How is your farm dealing with the higher cost of input?
Not great, but again, we weren't carrying an active debt load going into this crisis, and we did have some savings in the bank, all of which, are options unavailable to so many.
It didn't actually change the cost of production that much, but it did.
Jen Miller is the Farmer Services Director for NOFA Vermont, the Northeast Organic Farming Association of Vermont. At the conference, she led a farmer panel that focused on strategies organic dairy farmers are using to offset higher costs.
People are maximizing their quality premiums. They're they're maximizing milk volume or reducing every expense, and they've done that and are still with this current economic pressure is still super challenging.
In March, the Vermont Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets reported that there are 514 dairy farms in Vermont. 128 of those are organic. One of those farms is Wonder Why Farm in Cabot, managed by Morgan Churchill. He and his family were the 2019 Vermont Dairy Farm of the Year. Churchill is resigned to the current situation, but optimistic.
2023 was more challenging of the year. Of course, input costs are high and milk price isn't quite where we'd like it. Still doing all right, a little bit more break even this year.
Do you see a way through it?
I don't know. I mean, we on our farm we've kind of done everything that we can, to muddle through this kind of sort of crisis.
Churchill does not have a lot of debt and recently added more cows to increase the amount of milk his farm produces. His concern is with younger farms.
In my circumstances, it's a little easier for me, but as far as to a young guy who's starting up in farming, it's expensive, and I don't know how some of those guys do it.
Churchill ships his milk to Stonyfield. There are 3 organic milk producers who service farms in Vermont: Organic Valley, Stonyfield, and Upstate Niagara. Jason Johnson works for Stonyfield.
I can speak to our direct supply because that's what we have and that's what we pay, and so we engage with our farmers on a regular basis, many times a year. But a couple times a year we're talking to them, and I really have to say, having a very open relationship with them, telling us what their input costs are, and us saying okay, where do we need to be? those conversations have been going on, for the last year. Obviously, when grain inputs go up by double, obviously somebody's saying, well, how are we going to weather this storm and how are we going to take it? And, for us, we have responded to that with farmers a couple times in the last year.
Johnson and the other attendees know solving this crisis is going to take more than a single intervention.
We're not just saying oh, there's inflation like everybody else is having. There are extraordinary circumstances at work here in the market that, we really want to keep as many farms going as we can, and we're seeing that's a real challenge right now.
If grain price comes down and fuel price comes down, that'll definitely look different next year.
So we probably will lose a few more at least. Yeah, it's hard not to be very doom and gloom because our food system has a lot of challenges, right? Like how much will people pay for food in the short term versus reaping the long-term benefits.
The challenges Vermont's organic dairy farmers are currently facing are complex. So too are the solutions.
The loss of these farms, particularly in this moment for Vermont, I think is a really dangerous moment from a climate standpoint particularly, and a resilience to our food systems and our ability to navigate the coming years of these changing weather patterns.
I think the folks that are still in business are very smart, very determined, very skilled, and want to keep farming and want to keep their land in agriculture.
Will there be consolidation? Yeah, probably. There is when things happen like that, when there's tough times in the economy, that tends to happen. But just here today, there's many dairy farmers, organic dairy farmers at this conference. I don't think they're here because they think they're going away. They're here to learn something new, talk to fellow farmers, and see, how do we gear up for the next.
In Randolph, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture recently announced plans to provide up to $100 million in emergency relief nationally to small and medium-sized organic dairy farms. Exactly how that funding will be distributed is still being decided. With proper care and the right environmental conditions, houseplants can live a long time. But for a variety of reasons, not all of our indoor plants survive. In partnership with the UVM Extension Master Gardener program, Across the Fence presents today's Houseplant Hero segment, which asks a simple question: keep it or compost it?
Hi, I'm Judy Miro, an Extension Master Gardener coming to you from the office of UVM's Master Gardener Helpline, and I'm here to help you become a houseplant hero by providing some guidance on caring for your houseplants. Today we're doing something a little different. It's called keep or compost. As you can see, I've got some plants here. This is pretty typical. I often get plants left at my desk with notes on them asking me what I can do with them. This one right here, the Phalaenopsis orchid, was just left at my desk by a coworker, and well, he gave up on it, but I don't think we should. I think it's a keeper, and the reason I think it is because if you look at the roots, well, there's actually one really good root left, and right here it is. So we're going to repot this in a little bigger pot, and actually in an orchid pot, which this is not, and we'll put it back in with new potting mix and let her go. It's got good, healthy aerial roots, which look great, and definitely a keeper. So moving along, right here in the middle, we've got a cactus that looks like it's lived a pretty hard life. Not sure what happened. Maybe a little underwatering, maybe a little overwatering, perhaps a little too much sunburn. But you know what? It's headed for the compost pile. Over here, we have a succulent, and it looks nice. I think it's a zebra. Looks like we can trim it up a little bit. Pot looks a little too small. So my thought is, get a better pot, a little bigger, get some cactus soil for it, repot it, prop it up. It's definitely a keeper. I'm liking this plant. And moving right along, we've got what used to be a polka dot plant. Not really sure what happened here, but my guess is it was watered well, left in a cold window, and those tender roots next to a really cold window got a little frostbite. there's no hope for this baby. It's definitely headed for the compost pile. And then here we go. We've got a nice little coffee plant. And no question, we're keeping this puppy. It's got great new growth on the top. It's got a nice couple of good leaves. And yeah, so we've got some yellowing over here. You know what? We can take those leaves off, and we have a couple of options. We can just take those yellowed leaves off and let her go, or we can actually, you know, coffee trees are pretty resilient. We can cut it right back, leave those bottom 2 leaves on, and then let it regrow again. Or, like I said, just cut back those yellow leaves and leave it alone. We'll monitor the watering, we'll get it some nice filtered sunlight, and it's definitely a keeper. So I think we've got some keepers and some compost pile, but I think we'll do good here. So remember that by providing your plants with the conditions and care they need, you too can be a houseplant hero. For more information on houseplants or home gardens, visit the UVM Extension Master Gardener website and see our garden resources page, or contact an Extension Master Gardener volunteer at the helpline. The phone number is on the screen. This is Extension Master Gardener Judy Miro wishing you happy growing.
Our thanks to Judy and the UVM Extension Master Gardener program. And once again, thank you for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. Stay well.